Hi, I'm Carlotta Paltrinieri. I'm lecturer in Early Modern Italian Studies, and today I'm going to talk to you about one of the modules that I teach, which is entitled Art and Literature in Renaissance Florence, and it's a module open to both second and third year. In particular, this module is made for understanding some of the practices and cultural products of the Renaissance, in particular art and literature. But the approach to this module is trying to offer approaches to the understanding of the history and the culture of the time without fixating too much on some of the myths and some of the misunderstanding of this beautiful period. So we'll cover about 2 centuries of history, which is sounds like a lot of things to cover, and they are. But we're going to look at specifically at how to understand the way that these products came to be and to understand why artists and poets of the Renaissance became so famous and are still studied today. There are different approaches to do that, and we cover this in class. We're going to look into archival research, paleographical research, as well as digital research. In particular, what I'd like us to do together is to understand who creates and who is behind our understanding of history today, our understanding of Renaissance history in particular, understanding that the people that produced the documents and the artworks that we know today were people coming from a very specific background, very privileged position. So what we know today is really very much the story of the winners. And so we're trying to think of the social, political, and cultural dynamics that were at play when in the production of these artworks. So it's not just about understanding and learning about the big names of the Renaissance, Michelangelo, Leonardo, Machiavelli, but also to understand why this century or 2 centuries was so central for the development of Italian culture and for the development of Western culture in general. The Renaissance was not only a period of artistic discovery, it was a period of scientific discovery and a period of innovation in many fields, especially in the financial field. For example, the way that we use credit cards today, it was an invention of the Renaissance. And the other idea is to stop thinking about these important artists as geniuses that were completely separated from their cultural background. For example, we hear about myths about these artists, one of which is Leonardo da Vinci's myth of writing from right to left to sort of conceal his ideas and hide them from his enemies. Well, instead, he was left-handed, writing with the ink on the page. If you're left-handed, it's much quicker and easier than from left to right. And we're going to see how the Medici family shaped the culture and the politics of the time. And we're going to look at different media, for example, texts in particular, not just texts that were poetry or literature of the time, but texts that were written by artists that really wanted to underline their role in society. And to do that at the time, you had to be a very good poet or a very good philosopher. So artists were trying to not just produce art, but to produce other cultural products that were recognized as very intellectual, to try to enter this society from which artists at the time were sometimes, they were not part of it, they were excluded. So we're going to see how, for example, Michelangelo writes poetry, how Leonardo writes a treatise on painting to elevate the status of painting to the one of science. And so how these artists were trying to make it in a very difficult world, and how our understanding of visual arts has changed from the Renaissance to today. And we're going to do that basing on both secondary literature, but especially primary literature, meaning the documents that are today held in archives and libraries. So we're going to look at manuscript, at printed books, thanks that we can, of course, consult today thanks to technology, thanks to digital reproductions, which, of course, has been very much expanded with COVID and the digital revolution. And we're going to see how reproducing these artifacts digitally is changing our understanding of them and is shaping our interpretation of the past. So you're going to learn how to become archivists, paleographers, and digital humanists. So, scholars of the humanities, but with a little bit of knowledge of how to do things digitally. And this is all that you're going to learn, and I'm very looking forward to welcome you to the module.